How's it going, guys? Welcome to Cooking with Kaski. My name's Ty, and today we're going to be cooking a steak sandwich. And the steak sandwich is basically going to be a baseline of what we can do, like what I can do, and I'll showcase what I know and what I don't know. And basically, this will just be a good estimate of what I can do in the future, so we can get more and more complicated, working our way up to a beef Wellington. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. Alright, right here we have the steak sirloin, which we're going to be using for the meat. It has beautiful marbling. You might not be able to tell, really, from the image, but this is just going to be a very tender kind of cut. And make sure what you do is you leave it out 20 minutes beforehand before you cook with it. It's not necessary, but it's just nice, because if you don't leave it out, it'll just be harder to cook, and it'll just be kind of uneven at times. And this is just a general easy way to make life better for yourself. You don't have to do it, but anyways, let's talk about the seasoning. We're using black pepper and pink Himalayan salt. Yeah, anyways, we're just going to be seasoning generously with both spices. I personally like using more salt than pepper. Make sure to put a generous amount on it, both sides. Make sure to pat it in. This is something I realized only later in life, that you gotta pat it in. Most of the times I just chucked it on there and just hoped, but if you pat it in, it just kind of locks in those seasonings, and whenever you take a bite of it out of it after you're done cooking, it's just kind of an explosion of flavor. Once again, pat it in with both times. You're going to flip it over and do it again. And also, another thing I realized about cooking is like a feeling. You know when it's enough and you know when it's not enough. Yet now I want to make this clear, if you're baking, that is not a feeling. You need exact measurements. It's a science. You need to know exactly how much you're putting in, the measurements, and all that. Once again, pat it in, and then once you pat it in the second time, you're going to put it on its side, and you're just going to get all the residue that dropped. You're going to make sure you get that, and you're going to do it on both sides, because you'll see later why you want to do that. Alright, and now you're just going to bring it over to the skillet. Nice and hot. We have it somewhat medium high. Put the oil in, and you can tell if a skillet's warm by the oil, because you can just see how it moves. Really watery. That's good. Leave it there. We're grabbing meat. And you want to slowly put it in. Oh yeah, that sizzle. Make sure to keep the area clean, wipe it down, just use like a wet rag or something. It's just a nice thing to do, and it makes the area very, very clean and nice. We're going to then move on to cutting tomatoes, and with this we're going to want the 3-finger rule. I showcased this in another one of my videos. Basically you have the middle finger in front, and then the 2 fingers behind, and then the pinky and thumb kind of holding it in place, keeping it nice and firm. My first cut kind of got a little sticky. I didn't cut deep enough, so it kind of stuck together. But for the most part, it should be fine. Let's just get a little plate here, and then we're going to start moving on to the next ingredient. We're going to move on to the onion, which the exact same thing. You're just going to want to cut off the ends, but with this one, cut it in half. You're going to take off the first layer, and right after that, you're just going to do the 3-finger roll again. And with this, you're going to want kind of thin to win cut, but instead of like thin as possible, you want to leave it kind of thick. Just for this type of thing we're going to try to do, we're going to try to saute it, so you want all the flavor that we can have in it. Next, we're gonna cut some lettuce up, and I got quite a big head of lettuce. I should have got like the longer one that you can find in the stores. I got a bigger head, which was a bit more difficult to cut, especially with a smaller knife. But what you do with that is you just cut off the end, because we can't eat that. And then what I did was I cut it up into fourth, and I just use those fourth, and I'll leave the other stuff, the other head of it, for later on. Now we're gonna go over. It's been about 3 minutes. Put the steak. We're gonna hit more butter. And with this, we're gonna baste it. So once we got a bit of butter in there, burn it. And then the best you can, I kind of put there was a lot of sirloin I had. Look to the edge or something. Alright, so once you add a bit of butter in, what you're going to do is you're going to turn it. You're going to look to the edge, a little bit, just going to baste it. Now, something I've learned about cooking in all my time is that cooking itself, like what I'm doing, you don't really need measurements. You don't really need to be specific on what you add. It's decent to have, but it's not necessary. But whenever you're doing like baking or anything like that, it's a science. You need to have the exact measurements. You need to have the exact cup, teaspoons, whatever. Unless you're a grandma. If you're a grandma, you can get away with it. Anyway, that's good for now. We're going to let it cook for a little bit longer. That's over there. We're then going to cook the side. Nice. Now that the meat is pretty much done for the most part, we're going to move it over to the plate. Alright, we're just going to let the steak sit here and give it time to rest just a couple of minutes, and then we're going to move on to putting in the onions now. Just going to toss them in. They're somewhat sticking together, but it'll be fine. Make sure not to drain out the skillet, because you want all those juices in there. Touch of butter in there. Go around a bit. Get them all nice and caramelized. And leave that in there for about a minute and a half. Take a plate here. And we're gonna move them all over. Alright, now comes the plating. We're just gonna quickly, since this has been sitting for a while, we're gonna cut off bits. This is not a sharp knife, I will say that. I think I cut this decently big. Move that for now. Alright. Little piece here. Let's see if you can see it. It's nice a bit. It's time for plating. Which we're going to take a couple of these tomatoes that I cut. Place it down. We should be good enough. I'm going to put the meat kind of on top. Rid of the onions. Oh, that's hot. Alright. Maybe next time when we use onions, we should use a spoon or something so that it don't burn. Wow. That's so smart. I wish I would have thought of that before. Anyways. Moving on. We got the onions on there, tomato. Now we get a bit of lettuce. I'm gonna put on the other one. Oh, that's the top. I'm stupid. Anyways, it's fine. It'll be fine. We just mixed up the buns. It's whatever. Lettuce on top. Then we have sharp cheddar cheese. Because we don't want to use... Because personally, my favorite cheese is provolone. But we don't want this meat to stand out too much. We want to still taste it, but not have it be so overpowering that that's all we taste. So we're adding cut up sharp cheddar cheese. That's not probably what you think of cheddar cheese when you see it. At least not me. Usually I think it's more yellowish, orangish colors. But yeah, I think this is a... But I... Yeah, but I think this is good. So, put it on top. Then we flip it over because I messed up. Let's see if you can see it. Ugh. Actually, let's leave it down. Not too bad of a sandwich, I gotta say. Probably not the best, but let's give us a taste. Okay. I think overall, it was pretty good. Top bun, I think I could have toasted for a bit longer. And the onions, I think I should have left a little bit longer to get more caramelized. But overall, I think it's very good. I think the meat that I used was a bit too thick. It was very tender, which was good because it just came right off. Wasn't too difficult. But excuse me. But I do think that it was a bit too thick for what it was. Anyways, yeah. So if you did like watching, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and if you want, leave a comment about what you want me to cook next. I do have the next one planned, which is fried rice, but the next two, the third and fourth one I'm planning on doing is open, so please leave suggestions of what I should do, leave recipes, and check it out. Yeah, thanks for watching.